Órale, cholo choque los tres chingones boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas. All right, man. So touched on this a little bit on the live, but I wanted to touch on it a little bit more in depth. And that is that the numbers are out for the pay-per-view buys for what they were calling the greatest, card ever, right? And I know, it took a little bit of a hit, right? You didn't get Parker versus Dubois. He fought Bacoli. You didn't get Stevenson versus Kid Austin Schofield. Instead, you got Padley. But even with that, it was still a pretty damn good stacked card. Um, Numbers, that's the thing about this sport, man. It's almost like politics. And that's one of the things that I do not like in boxing is not so much the boxing and even the bad decisions and the bad judging and things like that. I could deal with that. It's the fact that people choose sides. Like I'm gonna choose this side. So because I choose this side, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give, false information, but to favor my side. It's like, damn, what's the matter, homie? Like, I don't get into all that, dog. And a lot of things on YouTube as well. It's just like, oh, I'm over here, I'm rocking with this side, and they're rocking with that side. It's like, man, I don't get down with all that, Holmes. To me, it's just, hey, let's get the numbers with, with no narrative to be pushed other than just putting the numbers out there. But again, now we live in a time where it's like, well, you know what? If you believe these numbers, because these numbers are coming from this source, those numbers are coming from that source, and they kind of, seem to lean to this side, you know what I mean? And they go over there to that side, and it's like, it's stupid, dog. It's stupid. But nonetheless, look, man, um, one thing that we can all agree on is that the numbers are low, extremely low, very, very, very low, under 100,000 buys in the United States. Now, globally, I'm not going to touch on that, all right? But in the good old US of A, baby, the greatest card, finger quotes, the greatest card of all time got extremely low numbers. All right. So, and by the way, this was a pay-per-view that was what, 25 bucks or something like that? Okay, so one thing is that the time of day. Okay, I'm over here in SoCal, the Wild Wild West Side, baby. Killer Cali, right? Over here, this card started at about 8 o'clock in the morning. So that's one thing. All right. But the main thing about this, the main and there were some good fights. I called it, man. I said Joshua Buatsi versus Colin Smith was gonna be badass, and it was. It was the best fight on the entire card. Okay, but the big thing is here is that to true boxing fans, real boxing fans, guys like you and I, this was a really good stacked card. However, however, to the casual boxing fans, to the fans that know little to no boxing, to the fans that just know names like Canelo, Ryan, maybe Tank, to the fans that don't really know boxing well, there's nothing here for them. There was no superstar on this card. Better Biev versus Bivol is a big fight for true boxing fans, but not for the casuals. The casuals don't even really know who these guys are. Heck, Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez, and he's still not a megastar. A lot of people here in the US, man, don't really know who these guys are if you're not a real true boxing fan. And that is what really sells. Star power. Unfortunately, if you would have thrown Jake Paul on this card, the sales would have been a lot better. Why? He has star power. Any one of these guys on this card would have beat the dog doo-doos out of Jake Paul. Even the small guys, even Padley. But that's not the point. The point is he would bring star power. I'm not saying put him on the card. That's not what I'm saying. But this card was made for the purist. This card was made for real, true boxing fans. But just for the boxing world, including the casuals and including the ones that just like to go to the barbecues to watch a Canelo fight or some sort of big fight that, catches a buzz, there's nothing here for them. None of these guys sell in the United States. Now you could say that Parker is a pretty big star across the pond, sure. But here in the US, I mean, if you're not a true boxing fan, do you know who Parker is? What do we got? We got Virgil Ortiz Jr., who's my favorite fighter. He needs to do a little bit more with building his brand. Shakur Stevenson. I mean, these guys aren't superstars. They got a little bit of star power, yeah, but not much. You can't put them on a pay-per-view just yet for them to headline their own pay-per-view. It's got to be the right fight. And even at that, it will do decent sales, but it's not, gonna blow the roof off anything when it comes to a pay-per-view sell. So now you got the Canelo fight in Riyadh when he's gonna face William Scolnello, right? And they are actually going to cater that fight to us over here on this side because in Saudi they will have that fight in, I believe, Sunday morning, so we could get it prime time Saturday night, which changes a lot for most people in the country. There are some people that enjoy. There are some people in this country that enjoy having boxing early. There are some people that are like, oh, you know what? I like having boxing early, and then you got the nighttime to do whatever it is that you want. What I mean, that's not most people, but that is some people. Me personally, I like it at nighttime. Hey, homie, there ain't nothing else I want to do, dog, but watch some damn good fights Saturday night. That's what I want to do. I don't know what the heck anybody else is talking about. Like, well, you know what? You watch it during the day, you get it out of the way, and then you still got the night. The night for what, Holmes? I want the night for boxing, dog. Crack open some pistos, homie, and let's watch some boxing. That's what the night's made for. But if the Turk, and this was a good card, okay? This was a good card, but the Turk needs to understand as well that you need to have some star power in order to really sell. You just can't have great fights that's just going to be aimed for the true boxing fans, but yet there's little to no star power. So now this sucker's really not going to get out there because you're going to take a loss. All these guys, most of these guys were probably overpaid for a pay-per-view that was 25 bucks and didn't really sell much. That's why this is not sustainable. The way this is going, the way everybody is enjoying this, like, oh man, dog, he's making some great fights. Yeah, yeah, he is, man. He is. But this isn't going to run its course forever. This is going to run its course to a certain extent, and they're going to cut it off. You just cannot be overpaying guys to make these fights and get nothing in return. So the numbers are bad for this card, man. They are bad, like extremely bad. And for them to promote it as the best card ever, I mean, you guys see it right there, the fight card of the century. You know, for true boxing purists like you and I, yes. But this sucker does not sell. And you could have put it prime time here in the United States. Maybe, just maybe, it would have done a little bit better, but it wouldn't have made much of a difference. You don't have any real stars on here. Star power sells. Now, if you go and have, Better Bia versus Bivon 3, unless you're going to have a big superstar and the undercard, it's probably going to do around the same numbers. But what's your guys' thoughts, man? Because the numbers for the greatest card ever or the fight card of the century are in, and it was terrible. Look, I enjoyed it. I did. I wouldn't mind it to continue, but I know it's not going to. This is bad business. You just don't do this. It's unfortunate, but yeah, man. I mean, heck, you got to get some stars, some star power, man. And sometimes, and by the way, it doesn't need to be the entire card. The whole card doesn't need to be, stacked with nothing but stars. No, you can have one fight that has some big star power just to bring in the fan base. Now, personally, look, I've said it, and I don't want to get this video too long, but I've said it. Look, get away from doing these 7 hour long shows. We don't need 7 hours. Give us four good fights. Four good fights. Somewhere in those four fights, you need to throw in a star. Even if it's a jackass type of fight, even if it's a Rolly versus Ryan type of fight, as long as the other three fights are good, solid fights without a bunch of payasos, without a bunch of clowns and donkeys, then you're doing what needs to be done. But personally, man, look, I don't need 7 hours. Okay, I don't need 7 hours of it. Give me four good fights. One of those fights is gonna have to be some sort of freaking, I don't know, get some jackass, get somebody who with some star power. If it's not a Canelo, you're gonna have to find somebody else. Whatever they're popular for doesn't matter. Get them in the ring and bring the eyeballs. But the numbers for this were terrible, at least here in the US. What's your guys' thoughts, man, on the numbers coming in for the fight card of the century and it being extremely bad? I'm telling you guys, man, this just catered to real true boxing fans, and I enjoyed it. As a real true boxing fan, I enjoyed it. But I knew going in, I'm like, I don't know how good this is gonna do, man, overall, because there's no stars here. You guys let me know. Solo choque los tres chingones boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas. Catch you guys all next round.